All right, hey, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, we are back in the world of warships, and today we're looking at the Tier 9 Buffalo American Heavy Cruiser. This is the ship that is right before Des Moines, the line that starts with Pensacola, runs through New Orleans, Baltimore, as we last saw on the channel, and we've arrived rather on Buffalo. So Buffalo, for a lot of people, is going to be kind of a speed bump. This ship, and even for someone like me who's played the game a good bit, I didn't like this ship when I first got to it. I was like, man, it has the typical Tier 9 hangover. This game has an issue at Tier 9 where a lot of ships in the tech trees tend to become inflated versions of themselves at Tier 8, but don't quite have the firepower or the benefits of their Tier 10 brethren, and you get kind of caught in the middle. Destroyers don't really have this problem. A lot of destroyers at Tier 9 are powerhouses, but for some reason, cruisers and battleships seem to kind of hit a bump at Tier 9, and Buffalo really isn't much of an exception. Baltimore is a fantastic ship at Tier 8. You get your radar. You have the ability to radar. Not only do you have radar, but you have a 10-kilometer detection range of the 10K radar, meaning that you can't be outspotted past your radar. You get a little bit better guns. A lot of some things really come online for you, but then you get to Buffalo and you get this elongated version of the ship. You get an extra gun turret, you get your reload module at Tier 9, and some things feel better, but the ship is bigger, it's clumsier, it's spotted from further away, uh, and of course you get more Tier 10 matchmaking. So the ship can be a little bit of an issue if you're not quite, comfortable playing it. But as you're going to see in this video, the ship is very capable. You just kind of have to give it a chance and kind of play it right. So some of the things to consider from this line, we talked about it with Baltimore as well, but the American heavy cruisers are good multi-purpose ships. These ships are very good at doing all sorts of different things in the battlefield. They're one of the more jack of all trades sort of cruiser lines. These ships aren't necessarily ships you're going to sit in the very back and spam HE. They're not ships you're going to, just go YOLO all the time with like torpedoes and things like that, like German cruisers maybe, for example. These are more adaptable to the situation ships, but you still have to position these things correctly. And the American heavy cruisers play around islands very well. These ships aren't going to sit behind islands and just farm nonstop like a Worcester or a Cleveland or something that has the ability to just sit right behind the island and kind of abuse shell arcs, but still playing around islands is where these ships are going to make their money. Now, Buffalo has a few disadvantages from Des Moines that doesn't allow it to do that as much. That audacious plane just lost its mind. I'm not sure what that was all about, but um, these ships are going to be at home, in the island cover and being kind of moving around. And you want to kind of put yourself in positions with the Buffalo where you're going to be able to take advantage of the AP. One of the things that the American cruisers have going for them is their AP is fantastic, and the ship is no exception. If you're struggling in this ship, try shooting more AP. I'm not even kidding. The AP is fantastic. You're going to see it a couple times. And although we have a little more HE damage in this game, we still put in about 70,000 damage with AP. It's probably about 45% of our total damage if you count HE shells, fires, and AP. So it's definitely something you're going to use. But some of the things the American cruisers have is 27 millimeter armor, so you can bounce guns that are 387 millimeters and down. So a lot of German guns at Tier 8, a lot of French guns at Tier 8 and Tier 9. But Tier 10 battleships are going to, as a rule of thumb, all overmatch you, with the exception of the Bourgogne, or whatever you call it, the steel ship, the steel French ship. Every other battleship at Tier 10 will overmatch your armor with 16-inch guns or 406 millimeters and above. And you don't have that 30 millimeter deck that Des Moines has, so this ship is a bit squishy, and it's not something you can open water tank battleships in. But other cruisers, yeah, you can tank cruisers in this thing. The armor is pretty good. You have a decent heal in this thing. So overall, you're not the tankiest thing in the world, but you're not all that bad. This in the game itself here, we're heading off to the Sea Cat. Both of our destroyers are down there at B, or the Frieslands in B. Our Shimakaze is like way out. We're gonna radar this Haraguma. We had saw him come up there a minute ago, and then he kind of disappeared. And I'm gonna use that 10-kilometer radar, and with the radar modification, you get a 41-second radar. And I can trust that my Yamato and Goliath have spotted out here, and the only ship that's really out in the way is this North Carolina. But right now I have this island covering me, so I'm gonna start lighting up this Haraguma in the smoke cloud. The guy backed up. I guess he thought he get out of the radar, but see, he doesn't see me. Like, he's yet to see where I am. So this guy just kind of get caught in a bad position, and we chunk a big hit off of him with our HE damage, which was 4,100, and we're going to take him down. So it's probably about time to talk about the guns on this ship. These are 203 millimeter guns. They're a staple of all the American heavy cruisers. I think even Pensacola gets the 203s. But what you get here is basically an extra turret from your Baltimore. The Baltimore had 3 turrets, the ship has 4. They're on about a 10-second reload, and these aren't the same guns you have on Des Moines. Des Moines are a little bit different. The reload is much lower, but the dispersion's a little bit higher. But obviously, like your reload's like cut in half on Des Moines. It's like 6 seconds. It's pretty nuts. But on a broadside, you have 12 of these guns, and they are pretty formidable. American HE is nothing impressive. You have enough gun caliber where you're going to penetrate most enemies. You're not going to get too many shatters unless you're hitting belt armor or some really heavy armored ships like Kremlin or something. But generally speaking, these guns are going to do just fine with their HE. But you don't have any, say, advantages that are going to make you an above average HE spammer. So you have to really get used to these ships switching shells, and that's where the Buffalo is going to make its money. American heavy cruisers have improved armor penetration angles, so you're going to get armor pins with your AP shells at more of an angle than you're going to get in other ships. So this is something you really got to make work with Buffalo. We're not seeing it yet because the Des Moines was nose on to me. The Haragumo was a destroyer, and generally you want to shoot HE at those. So there's really, you don't see it yet, but we're going to see it in a little while in this video. But those are some of the characteristics of the American heavy cruisers. So, you essentially have fairly tanky ships against other cruisers. You have a ship that has great utility with its hydroacoustic search and their radar. They have a little bit of a heal going on, and they're definitely very citadelable, but as long as you're not dead broadside, like I'm doing right now, thankfully, this North Carolina's not paying attention, you'll be okay. You'll be okay. So we're going to go ahead and work on the Albemarle here a little bit. And notice how I'm still playing fairly aggressive around this cap. I'm staying near the cap. I'm not sailing off to the edge of the map or anything. This map, this is Haven, and this map is very common to see people fight on the outside, like open water corners of the map, and not actually move in to the middle. We're going to switch to AP here. This Albemarle is coming around, so we're going to see if we can do work on him. But I'm not going to go into this cap. There's a lot of ships that could possibly shoot at me, so I'm going to keep this island to my left, and I'm going to keep the amount of targets that can shoot me limited, and the ones that can shoot me, my nose is onto. But look at the AP doing work. We're going to see our first salvo hit here. We get 8,800 damage in a Citadel in Albemarle, and we're going to get one more off. As you can see, this guy is over 10k away, and our armor-piercing shells have no problem citadeling this guy. Now, British heavy cruisers are definitely not the most armored targets broadside, but hey. Our buddy here in the Des Moines, he's going to take a big hit from the Kremlin over the island, and that's one of the issues you're going to have on this ship in Des Moines. 457mm guns are going to shred your armor, and they're going to overpin you, or overmatch you from any direction. He called him broadside, but even if he wasn't, um, that would have been a problem anyway. Des Moines can tank some battleships with their 30mm deck. You don't have that on Buffalo. So whereas you see a Des Moines make a play in Tier 10 games, you might not be able to get away with that same play. So consider that. But as far as this cap right now, we're not really too interested in pushing in too much yet. We're not really sure where all the enemies are. We know there's no more destroyers in the game for the enemy team, which is very good for us. But I'm just not comfortable going into this cap because this is a CV game. I have the detection. I could probably get into this cap and cap it without being spotted if this is a normal game. But this is a Tier 10 aircraft carrier match. So if I go in here and just YOLO into the cap and I get spotted by the CV, this Kremlin is going to take a crap on me. And I'm also looking off to my left. I want to see what's out there, like that Amagi out there at 16k, the Albemarle out there. There's a few ships that could punish me, and I'm just not super excited about going into this cap and capping it. Our team, someone on our team in a minute is going to be like, hey, get in the cap and do the thing. Don't ever feel like you have to cap in this game, especially if it doesn't make any sense or you don't feel comfortable doing it. A lot of destroyer players struggle because they think, oh, I've got to be in the cap capping all the time. Your job is to be useful and stay alive. I mean, that's really what your first goal is. We're going to see some HE go off on this Kremlin, and notice how this guy was starting to make this turn, so we're going to go ahead and switch to AP. If you have one of the captains that have the improved expert loader, definitely run them, but even if you don't, expert loader is nearly a mandatory talent on this ship in Des Moines and in Baltimore, all of them. The talent that allows you to switch a shell type if you're already loaded by 50%, run it. We don't get too much AP damage with that Kremlin, but he was kind of turning away and going behind an island, and I didn't really lead those shells all that well. But it was still smart to switch to AP. Anytime you see a battleship making those turns, or a cruiser making those turns, you want to try to load AP. if you can. With the Kremlin behind the island, I feel comfortable enough about moving out, giving my team a little bit of spotting, taking some stock of what's going on. But I'm not really excited about going in the cap because again, if I get detected by the aircraft carrier, there's a couple ships in range that could hit me. And oh look, the audacious, he comes out of he does what he does, which is spot the whole map. This is why in CV games you got to play really careful. Because if I'm in that cap and I get spotted and then I try to turn away and turn my broadside to the ships hanging around D, turn my broadside to B where this Kremlin is just turned around, I'm not gonna be able to do it very well. So this was a risky shot, but I figured with the angle, I was gonna go ahead and kind of go for it because I don't know. I started to get the feeling our team was gonna be a little behind in this game, and you can see the Kremlin right there, 10,000 over 10,000 damage on the armor overmatch, even being completely turned away. Any shell that hits your ship is gonna go right through it. Now we didn't get Citadel there. You can see we can heal a lot of this damage, which is nice. At tier 9, you are gonna get the heal on Buffalo, but still, that hurt. It wasn't fun. Um, A is going to go off here for a little bit. Buffalo's AA is not as good as it probably should be, but it's definitely not horrible. The Buffalo and the American cruisers in general have very good AA, and while tier 10 carriers can kind of do whatever they want, there aren't many ships that can stop a tier 10 carrier. You can at least make yourself a less attractive target. We'll put it that way. So right now we're just kind of kiting away. There's a couple battleships that can do some work on us, and I'm not super excited about it. But generally speaking, I've got island cover right now, and without destroyers in the game to spot for them, I'm allowed to sneak in these shells. And this is kind of something you want to get used to. As a cruiser player, you want to get better and better about using these islands and kind of shooting while you're covered. Now you're probably wondering, how does that Massachusetts not see me right now? One of the only benefits in this game to having a fairly short firing range, which is something Buffalo struggles with, it's only about a 15.4 kilometer firing range, is you're only detectable out to your firing range. So that Massachusetts was outside of my firing range. So while I was shooting the Kremlin behind an island, the Mass couldn't see me. So that's kind of cool. And actually, right now, since he's moving towards us, we're shooting in front of his ship and he's driving into the shells. Now that we were in our range for and we do get detected, but again, I'm trying to move up to this island and I'm maintaining my angle and I'm going to get right back behind island cover. So I want to put a bit of an island between me and him. Our CB spotting for us, and I want to use this island. And Massachusetts doesn't scare me too much at this angle. Our belt armor is going to protect us a decent amount, at least that lower belt from Citadel. So I don't feel too uncomfortable here, and there aren't many ships on their team that are in a immediate spot to really punish me for being here. So I'm just going to take advantage of this time I have and sit here and farm this guy. Like, he's going to have to move or do something. He's not going to be able to just sit here and take this. And I'm also continually resetting the B cap. My team's kind of pushing in to C a little bit, so I want to keep an eye on that because I don't want to sit here too far back. I want to stay with my team and help them out. If your team is pushing, you should probably push with them. If it's one guy suiciding at the start of the match, no, you shouldn't. But if your team is making a play, it's better to make the less good decision with your team than it is to make the right decision by yourself and not support your teammates. So we're going to switch to AP again. This guy's going to give us that broadside, and he is on fire. So we're going to go ahead and try some AP on him. Even at this ranges against battleships, you'll get a little bit of damage. We're not going to Citadel him at this range. But 4,600 damage, like, that's a respectable amount of damage. It's definitely not something to scoff at. And as a battleship, like, he doesn't want to take that much damage. Let's see if we can get a second one on him. 2,100. That was a little, he was speeding up, so it was hard to catch him on that shot. But nevertheless, we're up to 99,774 damage, 2 Citadels, 5 fires, and shooting over the islands is something if you're newer to the game, it's going to take a while to get used to. But anytime you think you can maybe sneak shells over the island, you can use your mini map circle, or just kind of use a general. I don't know what else to call it besides just being used to shooting in the game. And sneaking in that kind of little free damage is nice because sometimes you can get a fire or something like that and you just get free damage. It's the difference in a 40,000 damage game and a 55,000 damage game or more. It's just these little times where you sneak in damage that you maybe shouldn't have had. So North Carolina's pushed in, and this is about where I want to try to help him out a little bit. I see there's a ship over here trying to flank him, and we've got the Amagi over there. We are down on ships. It looks like 5 to, well, 6 now. Was 7 for a minute. So it's about the time in the game where you need to make a play. There's going to be times in this game where you just kind of realize, hey, win or lose, got to do something. I mean, I never want to be the guy that loses the game on the 2 line, you know, where I could have done something to try to help my team win, and I did nothing instead. Um, so we're gonna try to help out this North Carolina. I'm not super excited about pushing all these ships at one time, like he kind of is with the CV, but I also want to get close enough to help him out with the CV's damage. We're gonna try to finish off this Amagi because he's kind of a threat for me to push across to my North Carolina, and then as luck would have it, a Des Moines appears right next to this room. Didn't know that I knew the room was there. Didn't know the Des Moines was there, so that's kind of scary. So we got to turn away. We're fighting a ship that outguns us completely. Des Moines is just better. It's just us, but better. So this is not a fight I'm going to take head on, especially not against a Des Moines and a Rune. So I'm going to go ahead and start moving back towards my team and create a little distance. We're shooting AP at this Des Moines. We're not getting a ton of damage, but I'm angling just enough to get my front guns on him, and then I'm kind of turning. And notice the whole time I'm moving my rudder. I'm changing my speed. I'm changing my rudder. I'm not just sailing in a straight line one direction. Again, this is something I've done so much. It's second nature to me now. But notice how much broadside this Des Moines is giving us. Even at 15k, we just got a Citadel at 15k with 7 shells landed. That's where you make your difference. Like he got some fires on us, he has some HE damage on us, but I can repair this. So I'm not taking this fight for long, but as long as he's giving me that favorable of an angle, hey, I'm gonna try to take advantage of it. We have to turn away now because the aircraft carrier is dropping AP or torpedo bombers on us, and we also have this North Carolina here I've got to turn away from, which kind of sucks. But I'm hoping to make enough distance from that Des Moines and that Rune where I can use this island for a little bit of cover. But again, at this point, we're kind of in that mode. We got to make some stuff happen. We have to continue to turn away again because this Albemarle is kind of pushing us back a little bit further, so we continually have to angle away. I want to keep it to where I want my guns only on this guy. And we're shooting HE at him right now, but we're going to go ahead and shoot AP. Now, he disappeared, but I already had a mental idea where I wanted that shot to go, so I just let it go. And it was a little back, but hey, 3,100 damage. Like, he wasn't there, but I knew he was close by, and went ahead and shot. We see we're still down on ships. We're up to 132,000 damage, but we're going to try to get this turned around. I kind of trust my team there to finish him off, or at least he's not become a threat. He's turned away, and he's at 15k. So I'm going to turn back to this North Carolina, who really needs to get out of the fight. Our CV's working on him. And that focused fire is what gets ships out of this game. I don't want my CV to hit this guy, and then he disappears and heals up and whatever else. And as long as he's his broadside, we're going to shoot AP at him. And again, 4,100 damage. He's flooding, or he's healing, I think, but he might also be flooding. It's hard to tell. Or no, he's on fire. I could be going for another fire, but with this profile, I'd rather just shoot AP at him. Fires are cool, but again, you can heal fire damage. You can put out fires. you can't put out 5,300 damage AP salvos. So we're unfortunately going to ground, but this guy just doesn't appear like he's going to be enough of a threat. Then we're going to get 2 more kills. Our AA is going crazy. We're up to 150,000 damage. You saw how quick we put that hurt on the North Carolina with AP, and with only 8 fires, we have a decent bit of AP damage involved. It's not just HE. We're not just farming fire damage for something to do. But now you gotta be careful because this Rune and Des Moines are very likely to push in, and this is where you gotta be careful with your fights and know what fights you want to take and know which ones you don't. And right now, I'm not super interested, again, in fighting a Rune and a Des Moines 2v1. So I'm gonna look for opportunities here. I'm gonna kite away. There's no reason for me to go charge these guys head on. We're up in ships, we're up in points. They can come to me. I'm fine with it. Shooting HE at this guy. Might expert loader this. Yep, we're going to expert loader to AP for this route because we see this guy turning. He has to dodge torps, so we're going to go ahead and shoot AP as broadside because we see that he has to sell through those torps to dodge them. And what do we get on the damage? Well, unfortunately, Des Moines is a pretty handling cruiser. But even look at the AP angles. I mean, he had already turned back a pretty good bit, but those improved American AP angles still allows us to get a good bit of damage. Even those on 2,000 damage when you're at 12k is enough to not be a good time. But we're getting popped a little bit. We're going to switch back to HE because he is nose on, and we're going to get moving again. Now for these, after this shot, I think maybe we might get one more. No, so we're going to go ahead and turn away completely because now I'm way I'm ahead of this guy in health a good bit. I've got my last heal available. This guy's on fire. The carrier's striking him. I'm gonna turn away completely. I'm gonna go maximum like protection here because I know I can out trade this guy and get the kill. So not interested in putting my front guns on him. Not trying to be greedy and let him get one of these AP shots and get a big hit on me or get a lucky citadel. I've already got this fight in hand. I don't have to ever consider doing anything special, and we're gonna take him out and get him out of the fight. We're 30 seconds left. This game's going to wrap up. We finished with 174,604 damage, 1.297 million potential damage, 3 citadels, 11 fires, and like I said, the AP damage was about 70,000, and the rest was fires and HE shells. We're first on the team with 2,600 basic experience. And overall, Buffalo, yeah, just take advantage of your shell types, know when to switch, stay near islands, and know when to get the hell out of fights if you don't need to be taking them. Make sure you use your radar, stay with your teammates, and, stay somewhat aggressive, and this ship will treat you well. Hope you enjoyed, and have a good one.